So this other idea that Truman grabs onto from Taylor's book is the difference between mimesis and poiesis. So the mimetic view of the world, and these are not probably very common terms that are used today, but this idea is really helpful. The mimetic view of the world says that the world has a given order and meaning. And so there is meaning, there is purpose, there is in the world. We see this especially with the notion of teleology that is so prominent in ancient Greek philosophy, that is prominent in a Christian approach to the world, which is then lost with what we would call a mechanistic view of nature, this view of the world or the natural world, that there is no purpose in it. The world is just kind of this machine that just kind of operates because it does. There's no purpose in any of it. But so then we have, so in mimetic view, in your life, you discover meaning, you find it from an outside source, and then you have the responsibility to conform your life to what is true. You don't get to create that which is true or that which is good or that which is beautiful or moral. You have to be formed so that you can understand that which is external to the self. Then we have this poietic view, which says that the world is basically this raw material out of which the human meaning just grabs on and creates meaning for themselves. So in this poietic view, we take nature and we manipulate nature and we use nature for whatever ends that we desire to do so. Now, Truman makes the point, and I think this is really important, that this is just something in some ways that occurs because of our technological innovations that we have today. It's very different when you live in a kind of agrarian society. You are born within a singular community. You live in that community your entire life. I mean, if you look at the medieval writer, the Venerable Bede, wonderful commentator on scripture and historian as well, he never left his hometown in his entire life. Now, that seems absurd to us. But for a large part of the history of the world, yeah, you have nomadic groups and things like that. But there are a lot of times where, especially think about the medieval period, you're in a town, you have a place in that town, you have a job, you are, if you're doing agriculture, you are at the whims of nature. Like you can't change whether it's going to rain, you can't change whether the sun is going to be out. You just have to work with what nature gives you. And it is what it is. And you're part of a community, you're part of a society, you have a role, you have to learn to live within it and figure it out. Well, I mean, today, the more technology has developed, the more globalization has happened, we feel like we are lords and masters over our own destinies. We feel like we are lords and masters over ourselves and over our world. Because we can travel from one place to another quickly, we can take a job, and if we don't feel satisfaction in that particular job, we can say, I'm going to leave and get a different job, move to a new city. And we don't have to think in terms of agriculture if we're not farming. And yeah, there are a lot of people who listen who are, farming, because that's what a lot of the, Lutherans in the Midwest do, who are a lot of my listeners. And, they understand that better than most people do. Because when you're not reliant on that, you're not reliant on nature. All you know is you go to the grocery store and you pick up food, it's there and you get it. You can kind of do what you want. And you can manipulate things however you want. You can manipulate your life circumstances however you want, because we have this notion of freedom. So it makes sense because of the technological innovations, because of the cultural innovations, and because of the philosophical shifts that occur, that we think that it is up to us to create rather than to fit into the society that we are given. So meaning becomes something not that we extract from any external source, whether God or something else, or a place in our civilization, or a place in society, or economic class, or anything like that. We instead decide what meaning is, and we create it. Now, I would point largely to existentialism. I think existentialism plays a hugely significant role here. And existentialism has so profoundly impacted our literature and our movies and our theology within the church in a very bad way. So I've been extremely critical of existentialism. I think that's a large reason why we are where we are today, though not a sole reason. We are exactly where we are. So this mimetic and poietic view of the world comes through just our world circumstances, our life circumstances, but it also comes from some of the philosophical shifts and philosophical movements that are going on.